All parties in the matter of Martin versus Martin. Step forward.
26-year-old insurance sales assistant Karen Martin is suing her ex-husband, home improvement salesman Kevin Martin, for stealing her share of a tax refund. Karen claims Kevin forged her signature on the check.
Ms. Martin, the defendant is your former husband. It is your claim that there was a government refund check in the amount of $400 that was issued to both of you. It is your claim that Mr. Martin forged your signature to that check, cashed that check, and you want your $200.
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Martin says there was no check that he received. He did not forge your name to any check, and he, quite frankly, doesn't know what you're talking about. Okay. So let us assume for a moment that a refund check was sent to Mr. and Mrs. Martin. So your obligation now, Ms. Martin, is to establish that he forged your name to that check.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you.
Okay. I do have a copy of the check where it's signed by him, and that is not my signature.
Okay.
I do have other...
Okay, let me see it.
Okay.
Mr. Martin, the Family Service Center, you familiar with that institution?
Yes, I am.
Tell me about that institution, sir.
It's a credit union that we had, as we were married, had an account there.
Mm-hmm. Are you trying to tell... clearly this check was sent to the two of you, and clearly it was endorsed by two people.
I never knew anything about the check. I never even knew that we were getting some kind of tax credit check.
How did you find out about the check, Miss Martin?
My cousin had received hers, and she had asked me if I got anything on it, and I...
These were the checks that were $400 that were issued to families by President Bush, is that right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. It was $400 per child, and she had received hers and asked me if I received mine, and I said, no, I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I had called Kevin, asked him about it.
And what did he say?
He said, he had still said, I have no idea what you're talking about. How do you... Actually, he said, how do you know that I... Or how does he know that I didn't forge his signature?
So, Mr. Martin, what I'm asking you is that the conversation you had? How do I know you didn't forge my signature? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the answer. The answer is you weren't calling her to complain that you didn't get your $200, right?
I never knew.
No, listen to me.
Okay.
You weren't calling her, Mr. Martin, to complain that you didn't get your $200.
No.
Because according to you, you didn't know about it. So why would she call you to complain? Listen to me. Call you to complain. If she had forged your signature to the check so that she got the entire $400 and you weren't calling her to complain about it, you get my drift, sir?
I understand what you're saying.
Old story. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So somebody from your credit union cashed this... I'm speaking. Somebody from your credit union cashed this check with a signature that I have compared with the signature on your answer and with a signature that I have compared with the signature on Miss Martin's complaint. And while that's not necessarily dispositive of who forged whose signature, the signature on this check, your signature on this check, is eerily similar to your signature on the answer. While her signature on the check is no way similar to her signature on her complaint. So I put those facts together, and you know what I came up with? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused and they step out.
She's accused me of...
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ward versus Stretch. Step forward, please.
27-year-old bill collector Lahia Ward is suing military technician Tommy Stretch for unpaid babysitting fees, lost wages, and defamation of character. Tommy claims Lahia abused his 11-month-old daughter.
Are you in the military, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What branch of the military?
I'm in the Navy.
At the time of this incident, your daughter was 11 months old?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Ward, you were a child care provider on the Navy base?
I was, yes.
It is your claim that Mr. Stretch made a report to Child Protective Services. That report, you claim, was filed maliciously by Mr. Stretch and or his wife, causing you lost income. You are suing him for that lost income and for defamation.
Correct.
Mr. Stretch says that he was obligated to file that because he felt as if his child was inadequately cared for at your facility. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't deny that you filed the report?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
When did you bring your daughter to Mrs. Ward's home?
It was September of last year.
And how long did Miss Ward babysit for your daughter?
The original contract was for 3 days. The incident occurred in the middle of the second day.
Now, in the middle of the second day, what happened, Miss Ward?
His child was a little cranky the whole day. She was laid down for a nap.
How many other children were you caring for that day?
3.
How old were they?
2 2-year-olds and a 1-year-old.
And how many assistants did you have that day?
None.
Did you bring the baby to her house or did your wife?
No, ma'am, my wife dropped her off.
What time?
I don't remember. I believe it was around 7:30.
And what time did you get a call that something had happened with your daughter?
My wife called me approximately between 1 and 1:30.
What time did you discover what you claim was 2 little red marks on the child's face?
At 12:30 when the child woke up from a nap.
Aside from these 2 little red marks on the child's face, I assume you have photographs of that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
I have a video.
There was something else that was discovered when you went to pick up your daughter. What was that?
After I picked her up, I noticed the bruises. I asked Miss Ward, what happened. She explained to me her side of it. And
Which was?
The child laid down for a nap and she had overalls on. And apparently she was very cranky. She wasn't feeling too well. So while she was getting comfortable, she laid apparently on the button on her overall. And that's what caused the 2 little marks.
That's what you think?
Correct, that's what I think.
It's possible. It's also possible she got hit. Now, there were periods of time, for instance, when you went to the bathroom, that you weren't in the room with the toddlers. So it's possible that somebody else hit her. One of the other children hit her, right?
Right.
But according to what I read in the complaint, there was something else that you found. You found a bite mark.
yes, ma'am. It was on her. I believe it was on her left forearm. I asked Miss Ward about it, why she hadn't said anything to me about it, and it was quite apparent from her response that she had no idea it was there.
How do you explain the bite mark?
When he showed me the bite mark, it did not appear to me that it was done that day.
Why?
It wasn't red. It just didn't look to me like it was done that day. I have children, and I kind of took a judgment on that. At that time...
Maybe it was done the day before.
Could have possibly been.
You have other children?
No, ma'am, I do not.
All right, let me see the video, please.
Bruises from daycare on my child. Left cheek right by the eye. 2 bruises. One nearest her eye with the cut in the middle. This is the outfit she was wearing.
That show that better.
Daycare provider claims my daughter was sleeping in a crib, and that these buttons, which are smooth metal buttons, said she claims she slept on them, and that they bruised her face. My daughter also has on her left forearm bite marks, which are starting to go away. The other mark that was left on her is right next to her right ear and on part of her right earlobe.
Pretty little girl. Okay. You did not, I assume, bring your daughter back to Miss Ward.
No, ma'am, I did
after
not.
that. So she was with you for about a day and a half. Is that right?
She left at 2:30. Our contract ended at 3:30, so almost 2 days, yes.
Okay. And at some point, you called Child Protective Services.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
Okay. He called Child Protective Service a month later. There were several discrepancies in the allegations made. On September 30th, I received a call from my monitor stating that Mr. Stretch was at the Child Resource and Referrals office looking for daycare. At that point, he stated that his child got hurt in my home, and that day I called them to come pick up their child immediately, which was not true.
So what?
Okay.
You mean you don't think that they have the right and the obligation to call and report your negligence? Child was clearly hurt at your facility.
Right, and I don't
And
deny
when you have four babies that you're taking care of, you need an extra pair of hands. You have an absolute right and an obligation to say, I don't think she watched my child well enough. So why are you here?
All right. On that day, the doctor advised him to take pictures and call Child Protective if he felt it was necessary. I think he noticed that the bite marks did not occur in my house, but like you said, it could have happened in my home. Okay, fine. He insinuated.
Listen to me. He didn't bite his daughter.
No, it was a child.
And it was a child, and he doesn't have any other children.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyhow, that day, the doctor, he insinuated that the child was hit with knuckles when he called Child Protective Services. And another day, he said that the child looked like she was slapped. So there were several discrepancies made on what actually...
He doesn't know what happened. It happened on your watch.
Correct.
You want him to do everything right? Is that what you want?
No, I don't feel like...
Miss Ward, I don't know why you're here, madam.
All right.
I would keep this very, very... I certainly wouldn't expose this to a national audience. Are you still doing daycare?
No, ma'am.
That's a very good thing. Your case is dismissed.
Ma'am.
That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He insinuated the child was slap, punch, and the child was not.
You don't get a bruise with a cut in it from laying on a smooth metal button.
There was no signs by the doctor stating that there was any signs of child abuse at all.
I did what I felt I needed to do to protect my daughter, and I'm happy with what she decided.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Baker versus Terry, step forward.
Rehab counselor Vicki Baker is suing her former neighbors, Byron and Mary Terry, for damage to her Chevy Lumina. Vicki says the couple drove the vehicle during a hailstorm.
Miss Baker, you agreed to sell the defendants a used car that you had, according to what I read. They had the car for some time. They made some payments on the car. And then, according to you, they stopped making payments on the car, so you repossessed it.
Yes, ma'am.
And after you repossessed it, Mr. and Mrs. Terry sued you for all the money that they had paid into the car, which was, I believe, about $1,400. Is that right? And how much had you paid?
$1,850.
And how long did you have the car?
We had the car for roughly about 3.5, 4 months.
Okay. Now you want them to pay for the damage that was done to the car while it was in their possession as a result of being driven in a hailstorm.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. and Mrs. Terry said, you live in Oklahoma, for heaven's sakes. That's what happens in Oklahoma. There are hailstorms. You're not responsible for the hailstorms. That's your defense.
Partly. There's more to it.
That's the defense that I read here. That it's a hailstorm and you're not responsible for an act of God. Now, Miss Baker, when did you agree to sell them the car? Give me the month and year.
December 4th of 2003.
And you took it back sometime in March?
Actually, no, it was April 2nd.
And when you got the car back, describe the damage to me.
I have photos of the damage, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please?
The automobile was damaged all over with hail damage. I have photos of the car, the storm and the damage, and also an estimate for over $3,000
Do you know when this hailstorm was?
Yes, March 17th.
Car. Yeah.
Were there other cars damaged, Miss Baker, in Oklahoma where you live by this hail?
Yes, ma'am.
How many hundreds of cars were damaged?
Probably many.
So why do you think the Terrys are responsible?
Because in the agreement they were responsible for any damages as well as to insure the car, which they did through Geico. And then I had asked them to take care of the damages with their insurance, and they did not.
Now, after March 17th, did they make any payment to you? When was the last payment?
March 12th, Byron paid me $200, which totaled $1,400.
Oh, I just asked you when the last payment that they gave you was.
March 12th.
Why did you stop making payments after March 12th?
We didn't, and we have proof. What happened was when we bought the car, we put like a large amount of money down, and then she gave us a copy of the title, and it said there was a lien on it, and she kept convincing us to double up on payments, like, and harassing me at work.
Just a second, Your Honor. Just a second. I asked a simple question. It doesn't require a story.
Okay.
It requires an answer. Why didn't you make any payments after March the 12th?
The last payment
As
was
a matter
on-
of fact, I was sitting in jail, ma'am. I won't lie to you. I wasn't capable of writing her a check. My wife was handing her cash. She gave my wife no receipts, which I told my wife, don't give her no cash if she ain't going to give you no receipt, because it ain't going to do you no good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vicki Baker says former neighbors Byron and Mary Terry owe for damage to a car they were subleasing. Vicki says the car was dented during a hailstorm.
The question is, did you make any payments or did you not make any payments after March the 12th?
No, I'm sorry.
So the answer is no.
Right.
Now, when, Miss Baker, the Terrys sued you for the return of their money, you already had possession of the car, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you, in fact, counterclaim for damage to the car?
Not during that suit, no.
Why not?
I tried to, and they said it was too late to countersue, that I had to make a new suit.
When did they sue you? In what month?
May 28th.
So you had already had the car back for almost 3 months.
April 2nd, no, I would have had the car back for about 6 weeks.
And when was the court case heard?
The court case was actually heard on May 28th. So the suit may have came just a little bit before that.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. When did you file suit for the return of your money?
When did I file suit?
No. Damn.
In April.
And when was she served?
The weekend after I filed suit, after I got out of jail.
Sometime in April.
Yes, ma'am.
So you had at least 4 or 5 weeks. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
After you got notice that you were being sued. And you had at least 6 or 7 weeks to sue them for the damage to your car. So my question to you, Miss Baker, is why didn't you do it?
I was hoping that they would take the car. All along I have offered them back the car for the $1,000 that they owed on the car. And so I have no use for this car, so I was hoping that they would do the original agreement, which was to pay the $2,400.
What did you do in order to convey that to them?
I spoke to them twice in person.
Just a second.
Okay.
Spoke to them twice after you repossessed the car.
Yes.
On April 2nd.
And also the police. Pardon me.
Did either Mr. or Mrs. Terry indicate to you that they were prepared to continue paying the additional $1,000 that you claimed they owed?
Mary's statement was, no, I will not give you another dime.
Okay.
Byron said, no, I'm leaving state. I have no need for the car. I'm fixing my truck. So they changed their mind.
So the answer is
no.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
So then my question to you is, why didn't you sue them?
I did.
No.
Ma'am,
you didn't sue them. Listen to me.
Okay.
You didn't sue them until after they sued you for the return of some of their money. That's when you sued them. You saw the car was damaged the day you took it back on April 2nd. So if you believed that you had a legitimate case, you would have been in court immediately, as you were now, to file a case against them because they damaged your property that you had repossessed. You chose not to do that.
Ma'am, I didn't know we had hard feelings. I thought this would be friendly throughout the entire thing.
What, Miss Baker? I don't know where you're at, madam. After you took back the car, they sued you. At what point did you think it was friendly? Where's the car now?
In my possession.
Good. What are you doing with it?
I have offered it back to the Terrys. I'm letting it sit until we decide what to do. Your Honor, may I speak, please, on this situation? I befriended these kids. They moved in next door to me.
I don't care about that. That's not what this is about.
Okay.
That's a story once upon a time. Right now what I have is you sold them a car. They were friends, next door neighbors, you liked, whatever. Sold them a car. You took the car back for non-payment.
No, ma'am. I took the car back because she sent me a letter refusing payment.
She said she wasn't going to pay you anymore.
Right, yes.
Fine.
Yes.
So I paid you enough, and I'm
I
not
did
paying
not-
anymore. Shh.
Okay.
Not paying anymore. This has been resolved in another court.
Right.
I'm not dealing with that. You took the car back. You did nothing when you took the car back until after they sued you for some of the money that they had invested in the car.
Ma'am.
That's what happened.
I did it as quickly as I could because I am a very, very busy self-employed person. To drive 2 hours to go down and sue someone when I knew I had until May 28th, I didn't see any hurry in doing that.
Well, I don't see any hurry in responding to it, madam. It's an act
They
of God.
damaged my car.
No, they did not damage your car.
My car did not get hail damaged, and many cars did not because most of us know to pull over during a hailstorm
Well,
and park our cars somewhere else. It's only those who drive. Mary was at
Takes
work.
to be in a hailstorm.
Mary was at work, and she chose to drive home in that hailstorm. She bragged to me how she drove 70 miles an hour in the hailstorm. She could have chose to stay at work and let the hailstorm pass, and the car wouldn't have been damaged as it was.
Did you drive intentionally in this hailstorm at 70 miles an hour? Is she crazy?
Well,
is she crazy?
I was petrified I was going to break through my windshield. I never drove in one
Nobody
before.
drives. Nobody drives.
How come you didn't
70
stay
miles an
home?
hour in a hailstorm, Miss Baker.
How come she didn't stay at the office and wait for the hailstorm to pass if she was terrified?
Miss Baker,
I was on my way
how
home
come
from
she
daycare
doesn't
picking my
live
kids.
in Florida, where there are no hailstorms that I know about? I don't know why. The heavens opened up. Golf ball size hail came down, damaged your car as well as hundreds of others. They're not responsible for that. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused when they step out.
These kids refused to make payments when Byron went to jail, and they sued me for payments, and I've offered them the car back.
She was spending the money on herself and her daughter that should have been for the car payment, and now she tries to sue us. She needs therapy.
I wasn't going to cover her cheating on her husband and doing different things, and she got angry with that, and I asked her to leave me, and it was after that the lawsuit came.
She wanted me to lie on my tax return, so we got in a fight and I left.
They took their $4,000 tax return and bought a new car. She changed her mind.
This woman is a pathological liar, and that is why she lost 2 court cases, because her stories are good, but they're not true.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hirsch versus Wirtz, Turner. Step forward.
Writer Randy Hirsch is suing his ex-roommates, art director Teresa Wirtz and student Krista Turner for vandalizing their home by writing on the walls with crayons. Randy also claims the women slandered him.
Mr. Hirsch, you rented a house. You were going through what I gather was an acrimonious divorce.
Mm-hmm.
You ended up in the house alone. Why are you smiling? That's not a happy thing. No. Acrimonious divorce is not a happy thing. And you decided to rent rooms to sort of make up the rent. You rented the rooms to these 2 young ladies at different times. I assume you didn't know each other?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got evicted from the house. And
Correct.
You claimed that you told them that they had to leave. They stayed on after you moved out, caused damage to the house that you were going to be responsible for. And in addition, you had to spend hours and hours cleaning up after them. So you want to be compensated for the damage that they did to the house. The defendants say that you caused a substantial amount of damage to the house yourself, your daughter, who you allowed to write all over the wall with crayons. They do acknowledge, however, which is to their credit, that they were really angry with you for what they perceived as scamming them. And when they did stay on, they did cause a little damage by writing on walls and maybe doing a couple of other little things. Certainly not $2,500 worth. So I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hirsch.
Okay.
When did you lease this house?
In August of 2003.
What was the rent?
$2,400 a month plus utilities.
Did you live there with your family?
Yes.
When did they move out?
They moved out at sometime around May 15th.
When did you rent to either of these 2 young ladies?
I rented the room to Krista on August 14th, and I was not completely honest with her, Your Honor.
Just a second. August 14th, and what rent were you charging her?
$650 a month.
When did you rent it to this young lady?
September 14th.
What's your first name, Ms. Wirtz?
Teresa.
What were you charging Teresa in rent?
$650.
Now, you started to say that you were not completely honest.
Correct.
With one of them or both of
Both.
them? In what regard weren't you completely honest?
I had
Mr.
been
Hirsch?
struggling to try to save the house and had fallen a couple of months behind with the owner. I'm a struggling writer, and my income diminished, and I fell a little bit behind. And finally, I got a eviction notice sometime in the first week or 2 of September.
So by the time you rented to Teresa, you had already gotten your first eviction notice.
I received a couple.
By the time
yes.
you rented to Teresa, you had already gotten put everything down. I'm very smart. I'm getting the story. Did you pay August's rent to the landlord?
No.
Although you had received her $650.
Yes.
What about September's rent? Did you pay September's rent? And that is despite the fact that you had received her $650.
Yes.
Did either young lady give you any security deposit?
No.
Yes.
How much did you give him?
By August 15th, I had given him $1,600, which was to pay for rent until November 15th.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
How much of that did you return to her?
Zero.
When I moved out, I owed her $650, and the day that I moved out, I offered her a check for $600, and she threw it on the ground.
Now, how did you find out that he was evicted?
By him on September 20th letting me know that we were going to be evicted on September 30th.
And how did you find out, Teresa, that you were going to be evicted?
The same way.
And when did you move out, Mr. Hirsch?
I moved out on the 24th of September with all my stuff.
Stuff that he had rented to us. Like, we were using the couch, we were using the TV, we were using all the facilities there, and he got up and left.
It was including the utilities. He moved out
shut off
without letting us know, and so we stayed there.
Mr. Hirsch, what would you like me to do for you today, sir?
When I had a very expensive entertainment system, Your Honor, and unfortunately I made a terrible mistake, and Teresa and I here had intimate relations on the first 2 nights that we moved, that she was there. On the third night, my daughter came for visitation. I only have her on the weekends. She was criticizing the way I was raising my daughter. I told her to mind her own business. She's never been married. She doesn't have kids of her own. She slapped me across the face.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You want to tell this story? Go on, Dr. Phil. I asked you a simple question. Okay. I said, what do you want me? I'm a judge. I'm not a therapist. You want a therapist? Go hire a therapist. What do you want me, the judge, to do for you today?
They completely covered every wall in the house with graffiti.
Yes.
I got the bill from the repairman and the handyman. The actual bill is $3,800.
Yes.
And then last night I spoke with the handyman, and he says, and also the owner, that they forgot to include the stolen drapes of $600 in this bill. The drapes were also stolen.
Just a second. Did anybody steal any drapes?
No, ma'am. We actually have...
The drapes were stolen.
Mr. Hirsch, I'm going to tell you that I think that you have real chutzpah. You defraud these two young ladies by taking their money, knowing full well that you are not using their money towards rent. And then when they may, and they acknowledge that they behave badly, you say, they can't do that to me. They can't stick me with a bill from the landlord. Do I look as if I need any help from you? So there's an old doctrine, sir, and that is the doctrine of clean hands. When you come into a court of equity, that's this court, we try to do the right thing. You're supposed to come in with clean hands. You're not supposed to have done anything wrong, because this is not a case where I'm going to compare wrongs. Well, you defrauded them, and they reacted. And how much am I going to attribute, to ascribe to each wrong? The initial sin was yours. You took their money under false pretenses. Thousands of dollars. You did not use the thousands of dollars to pay for what they expected you to pay for, which was rent, so that they wouldn't be evicted. And all the time you knew that you were going to get thrown out on your behind. Don't come into court and ask for any favors, sir. You're not going to get any here. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
Excuse me, step out.
I think she was spot on. Really glad to be here.
Just said that my parenting skills were horrible.
Well, he would feed her constantly, never take her to the park or give her any exercise.
I basically told her to mind her own business.
He allowed her to sleep in his bed every night because he'd rented out her bedroom with furniture to me.
I should have just been more honest.
Homemaker Colleen Smith is suing her former landlord, Everett Nelson, and his apartment manager, Sophia Banks, for medical bills, pain and suffering, and harassment. Colleen says she fell into a sinkhole on Everett's property.
Quiet in the courtroom. Quiet in the courtroom. Yes, this is case number 389 on the calendar, the matter Smith versus Bank Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Smith, you were a resident of an apartment complex. Miss Banks was the manager of that complex, and the co-defendant, Mr. Nelson, I assume, is the landlord and who owns the property. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
With regard to Mr. Nelson, it is your claim that you fell into a sinkhole on the property causing you injury, and you want him to compensate you for your injury and your medical bills and your pain and suffering. With regard to Miss Bank, you say that she engaged in a course of harassment which forced you to move, caused you emotional pain and suffering, caused you to have moving expenses, etc., and you want them to pay you a combined amount of $5,000 for all of your aggravation. Tell me about this sinkhole that you fell into. When was that?
September 7th, 2004.
And was the sinkhole in the apartment complex?
No, it was not. It was in front of 2 other duplex units that Mr. Nelson owns. He owns almost half of the block.
So you have photographs of where you fell?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
In the photos, you'll see that should have been after where he tried to patch it up. He patched it up after the incident where I fell.
Would you take these photographs and point out to me, please, where it was that you fell? I can't see where you fell.
Here's the hole that I fell in here. I was actually getting out of the resident's car that was living at this unit. I got out, walked along the edge of the curb, got my baby out of her carrier, out of the back car seat, and there was water running from the top part across the sidewalk, so it just looked muddy. And so I didn't want to get my shoes dirty, and I stepped out of the car onto the curb, but I lost my balance holding the baby in the carrier, and that's when I stepped right here, and it sank.
Let me see.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Who are you?
I'm her fiance.
Yes, were you there?
No, I was at work at the present time, but we also have notification from the water company that the sinkhole was caused in part due to a faulty sprinkler system that he had installed. And the resident called in on it.
Which resident?
The resident that was living at the house who gave her a ride at that time.
Let me see. Go ahead. So
I went to the water company to find out how many complaints prior to my injury had there been, and Mr. Nelson told the woman under no circumstances do not give me any information. So I had to go obtain a subpoena in order to get these records to show that he knew there was a sinkhole there prior that he fixed and that he thought he fixed, and what he did was he shoveled dirt off the back of his truck into the hole instead of calling a company to jackhammer and pack the dirt down, and then that's how the other incident happened on the 7th.
Okay, you have your medical records?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Okay, you went to the emergency room. They told you you had a sprained ankle. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do want to express my thanks for the opportunity.
Let's move on.
At your expense. Okay. This is an exhibit I want to share. It shows the duplex in the back. My wife and I purchased this last December and fixed it up. And believe you me, we take good care of our tenants.
Listen to
very
me.
Important. Okay.
Let's get to it.
Yes, all right.
I've read what it said. It said that there was a sink. Listen
Okay.
to me, Mr.
All right.
Nelson. I'm
Yes.
speaking.
Yes.
Pay attention. Listen to me. I'm speaking. Pay attention. The report says that there was a hole on that property that was caused by a sprinkler, that it was filled in on one occasion. Is that true or not true?
One occasion.
Fine.
But I had a company come in and put in a new water tap because when we bought the property, it was told to us that the neighbor on the north would not pay us water. So I put in the water tap.
Mr. Nelson, let me explain something
Sure.
to you, sir. If there is a hole on your property...
I object to that
Listen to me.
being on my property.
Well, then I'm going to
Okay.
let you get to
Okay.
it. If it's not on your property, it's
Sure.
not on your property.
Sure. Okay.
Okay? There's a hole on your property, and you have noticed that there was a prior hole on your property, and you attempt to fix it, and you don't fix it.
Oh, I did.
No, listen to
Yes,
me.
yes, okay.
And you don't fix it so that it creates a situation so that somebody injures themselves, you're responsible. I assume that you would have homeowners insurance that would cover that. If your defense is that the hole is not on your property, show me.
Okay, that's one of the defenses. Another is that I didn't cause the hole. It was, I honestly believe, sabotage. And this may sound strange, but the lady that lived in this property would not pay 1 penny of water.
Who was the lady who lived in the property?
Ms. who was the renter of this property.
Okay, she never paid a penny for water.
Yeah, that's right. And it was written in the contract that she was responsible to do that.
Who cares? I don't care about that.
Okay.
That's not important. Show me that the property
Right.
isn't your property.
All right. You can see these 2 water meters. This hole was by 1 water meter that was right next to the curb, and that was right here. The cause of the hole was the slashed pipe, like someone jammed a spade, and this is what the guy that repaired
Don't just look at me. Don't talk to them. Look at me.
Sorry. Jammed a spade or a shovel into the grid and slashed it.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
I have a mind like a steel trap. You were going to show me that the property where the hole is not your property. Now you have 30 seconds, because I've already wasted enough time with you. Show me that the property wasn't yours.
Right. Just this picture right here shows the meter by this house and the meter by this house, and it was right in front of this meter right here, next to the curb, is where the hole was. Here's another picture right here.
Just a second. Let me see the the first
Sure.
picture.
May I approach the bench? Okay.
Go get it from me.
Okay, sure.
This picture that you're showing me, sir, this is not where she fell. She fell at a spot very, very close to the curb, that little curb.
That is true. That is true.
So this, sir, what you're showing me here...
It's just showing the 2 meters. The 2 meters
listen to
there.
Me. I don't care if you're showing me 2 meters. It's not where she fell. I'm not interested in meter. I'm not a meter maid. This is not where she fell. She fell near a curb. When did Miss Smith tell you that she had fallen into this sinkhole and hurt her ankle?
She did not. She
Really?
did not.
Okay. Miss Smith, when did you notify Mr. Nelson that you had fallen into the sinkhole?
I did not notify Mr. Nelson I had fallen into the sinkhole.
Why not?
Because he came onto the property within that week, and he seen me on the crutches, and the other neighbors had told him, and he did
Don't
talk
tell
to
me what other people told him. I'm asking you a question. Your fiancé seems like an intelligent man. The 2 of you, you are articulate. You seem like an intelligent woman. If I fall and I injure myself, I call the landlord immediately, just like you went to the doctor, and say to him on the 7th or the 8th or the 9th or the 10th, I fell on your property. I want you to take care of my medical bills. Or whatever.
You're right. I guess I would have, but the next day I was served with this notice.
Can I see?
And so at that point, I just decided not to discuss it with him because someone had already gotten him to the point. So I figured, well...
So on the 8th of September, he told you to move.
Right.
Why did he tell you to move? This was the day after you fell.
Well, according...
Why did you tell her to move, Mr. Nelson?
I gave her a 30-day or a vacate notice to move because she was causing a lot of disturbances in the community. This was perpetual. That's why I asked these people to show the properties, clean up if there's a transition in tenancy, to prepare them, you know.
And I have worked for Mr. Nelson prior to this.
Mr. Nelson, do you have any verification from other tenants that Miss Smith was causing you problems? Do you have any letters that they wrote to you, any emails that they sent to you?
There's a wonderful verification right here.
Mr. Nelson!
Yes, yes.
I asked you a question.
She was a tenant of mine.
I'm asking you a question.
Oh.
Whether you have any letters or complaints from other tenants about Miss Smith.
I was
The answer is either yes or no.
Not written.
That's all I'm interested in. Do you have a bill, by the way, for your sprained ankle?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I actually have 2, one from the emergency department and one from the doctor.
All right. Can you step over here, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Step over here, please. Very good. You can put your crutches away. I'm unimpressed. Somebody who... let me explain something to you. Somebody who has a continuous problem with a sprained ankle from months ago doesn't wear high-heel shoes. They wear sneakers. Step back. So I'm unimpressed with the crutches.
No, I just bought them in to show
Listen
you
to me
how to
very carefully. Anybody who can't walk doesn't wear high-heel shoes. They wear sneakers. Even though they may not look elegant, they wear sneakers. I want to see the letter where you notified him that you fell.
I didn't.
You never did?
We talked verbally on the phone. And
when?
around the 15th or 20th.
Of what?
Of September, when he called me to tell me that I didn't have to move because he hadn't gotten any complaints, and that, you know what I think about you falling, tell me what's going on with this whole thing. And I said, well, Mr. Nelson, I hurt my ankle. And he told me, well, you know what I think about that? I think you're faking.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I object, Your Honor.
What?
Because Sophia, Ms. Banks here, she saw her most of the time without crutches.
I don't believe she needs crutches, Mr. Nelson, but I believe
okay,
you're responsible for medical bills. Got me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Smith says former landlord Everett Nelson owes for damages due to an accident on his property. Colleen says she fell into a sinkhole.
Now, you want to get to the second part of your claim, which is that Miss Bank harassed you, causing you to have to move.
In August, Sophia and her sister Arabia, Sophia knocked on my door and asked me to come outside. And when I came out with my baby in my arms, she, made the statement to me that, why are you in my business? We're gonna mess you up pretty much if we hear our names come out of your mouth again. And right around that time, her sister came from around the wall there. And, yeah, it's, they were coming towards me as in an aggressive manner.
Put your hand down.
That they were going to fight me, we're going to mess you up. And we got into the conversation that, my parents are calling over my house. And I said, well, they asked you not to have their minor child over your home, then send them back home.
I don't know. What was the dispute about?
I had called her parents to inform them. I didn't call her parents. He called her father to let them know that her younger sibling was over her house, who was 15, and he was a witness in a case that pertained her and another brother, and he didn't want him over there.
So your boyfriend, your fiancé, got into her business.
Right.
I'm not saying right or wrong, but that's what the dispute was about. Is that right, madam?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Fine. And you went over to her house and you told her to stay out of your business?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And you went over with your sister?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. What else?
And then on September 3rd, I was given this 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. But according to my lease, my rent isn't late until after the 4th.
Your Honor.
Second.
Okay.
And I do have my receipt where we did.
It says that other covenants of the lease violated. Water, $12, and late fees, $54.90. They're late from September 1st to September 30th, but this notice is dated September 3rd. That doesn't make any sense. Why is that?
What we do is, if the rent is not due, if they have not given us the rent on the 1st, legally we are able to serve them a 3-day notice because the rent is supposed to be due by the 4th. The only thing is that after the 4th, they incur a late fee. It's for nothing else.
What's the late fee that you're talking about here, $54.90?
That's
10% of the rent if they don't pay by the 4th. They have 4 days of grace. The rent is due on the 1st.
Mr.
It's
Nelson,
late on the 2nd.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
I don't think you ought to be a landlord. Listen to me. I don't think you ought to be a landlord, sir. Either you're playing dumb or it's not an act.
I'm not sure which.
Listen to me. Either you're playing dumb, Mr. Nelson, or it's not an act. If rent is due on the 1st, and you have until the 4th as a grace period, it's not until after the 4th that you incur late fees. And this notice says that she violated her lease because she owes $54.90 in late fees. My question is, for what month does she owe late fees?
The current month that this is
That's
about.
impossible. It's impossible.
Could you please repeat that?
It's impossible.
On the 21st, he told me I could stay. But again, he did it again on the 2nd of October. And he had Sophie.
The notice to vacate was for all the disturbances, and I have testimony here that's notarized.
Now, I'm going to let Miss Banks testify, since she was a resident of the place. What you heard from Miss Smith's apartment that caused you to report to Mr. Nelson that she was creating a problem
wasn't what we heard from her apartment. It's what they were doing outside. They were drinking, partying until late into the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Anybody else in the complex partying outside in the summertime?
The other tenants that were there that were partying with her, they are no longer there.
You know those people?
Yes, I do.
Are they gone?
All except one of them. And it was the whole block that had a barbecue for Labor Day. The whole complex came except Sophia Banks.
When you were given the notice to leave by Mr. Nelson, the last one, and you did in fact move.
Without notice. Excuse me. Sorry.
You understood that you had the ability to fight that notice because you weren't in arrears on your rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you do that?
I took my rent money that day that I was going to give him that day, and I took it and I gave it to another landlord because Sophia and her
In
sister...
October?
October 2nd.
Okay. So you took your rent money and you moved?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you move?
October 2nd. And I turned the keys in to Sophia's husband.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I?
On the 3rd.
Here is the way she left the apartment.
I'd like to take a look at it.
In fact, it looks worse than the pig pens I had when I was raising hogs.
Cups of beer and...
If we drank outside...
That's the living room.
In Mr. Nelson's lease...
Okay, you left the place pretty dirty. Did you have a security deposit from her?
No, not in this one.
Okay. You left the apartment messy, but I don't have a counterclaim. Okay. Ms. Smith, it's a long case. I believe that he is responsible for paying for your medical bills and then some with regard to your broken ankle. I don't find that since you didn't fight this eviction, which you could have, that he's responsible for harassing you. I think that probably Ms. Banks was just as happy to have you go since there was some acrimony that existed between the two of you and she did the wrong thing. I don't think that you're able to be compensated for that to the tune of $5,000, but I certainly think that you are entitled to your medical bills with regard to your ankle. And then some judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I believe her judgment was fair.
It was all put on. It was bogus.
She obviously saw through Mr. Nelson what type of landlord he really is.
We don't need to harass people. We either gonna fight or we're not.
I have no ill will, but I'm glad Judge Judy saw it for what it was.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Valerio versus Gunderson, step forward.
Customer service rep Summer Valerio is suing fellow dog owner, 21-year-old customer service rep Gabe Gunderson for vet bills. Summer says Gabe's pit bull attacked her dog.
Ms. Valerio, you claim that the defendant's dog injured your dog during a fight.
Yes.
And you want the defendant to pay the vet bills.
Correct.
Dog. Mr. Gunderson says that there was a dog fight. Your dog got the worst of the fight, and your dog shouldn't have been there anyway. So you'll explain that to me. What kind of a dog do you have?
She's a Mastiff Lab mix.
That's a big dog?
Yes.
And where was the dog?
In March of 2004, I made arrangements with Janice Rawson to keep my dogs at her house because she had just bought a house, and me and my boyfriend at the time broke up, and I was moving into a condo and didn't feel it was fair to take my 2 large dogs to a condominium with me. So she agreed to keep the dogs, and I continued to pay for their food and their vet bills while they were in her care until I made new living arrangements.
Just a second. So you left your dogs with this lady in March. Step up. What's your name?
My name is Janice Rawson.
You have a large piece of property?
It's a house with a yard.
You have your own dogs?
No.
What kind of dogs? One was a Mastiff mix, and what was the other?
Pit bull boxer mix.
Also a big dog?
Yes.
Who else lives in your house?
At the time when I moved in, it was Jeffrey, her now husband, and Dustin.
Jeffrey, her now husband.
The boyfriend I had separated from. And then we got back together and got married. But it was a temporary separation. He was living with her with the dogs there at the time.
Oh. So not only did you place your dogs with her, but you placed your ex-boyfriend there too.
Yes.
Now, tell me about Mr. Gunderson.
Mr. Gunderson moved in with me when Summer...
What do you do, rent rooms?
Yes. I have a 4-bedroom house.
Okay, so you rented a room to him. Okay.
Mr. Gunderson moved in with me when Jeffrey moved in with Summer, and they got married, and then I rented a room to Gabe.
So Mr. Gunderson moved in with a...
Male pit bull.
So now you have 3 dogs in
3
your house.
dogs.
Is that the dog that injured her dog?
No, that's a separate dog.
Well, where did the separate dog come from?
We went on vacation to San Diego. We were told by
Who's
Jeffrey.
we?
Me, Janice, a different group of friends of ours. We were told by Jeffrey before we left on a certain date the dogs would be gone. We get back from San Diego. I pick up the dog who got
Picked
to
up
the
what
fight.
dog?
The dog that's the reason why we're here. The one that attacked her dog. Or
You
got
mean a
into fight
second
with her.
dog? You
The
picked up a second
dog,
dog.
Right. Picked that dog up. I got home, found out that Jeff and Summer did not live up to their end of the bargain as far as taking those dogs back like we were told.
Your Honor. Well, why did you need a second dog?
I asked Janice. I wanted a female so I can breed. I asked Janice. She said that'd be fine.
Is that right? Yes, but the condition was that he could only get the second dog when her dogs were gone. And it wasn't an exact date of when they were going to take the dogs back. It was a hopeful date. So he should have made sure that the dogs were gone before he actually picked up the pit bull.
Well, he didn't. So on what date did you pick up the pit bull?
October 9th.
And what date was this fight that caused the injury to Miss Valerio's dog?
On the 28th, same month.
So why didn't you tell me how to get rid of the dog?
Well, I like dogs, and it's not, and the family who had the dog before couldn't keep the dog, and so it didn't really have anywhere to go back to except for the pound, and I didn't want to see that happen, so...
Okay, so you allowed him to keep the dog there. Fine.
Yes.
Now tell me about the fight.
My other witness here is the one that broke up the dog fight and basically saved my dog's life.
Is that right?
Yes.
Good. Between the 9th of October and the day that this happened, did you visit your dogs?
Yes, and I actually, a couple weekends prior, had taken Justice to my house for the weekend. I would take her sometimes for 3 or 4 days at a time.
So you knew he had both dogs there?
Yes, but I did not know that that dog had a history of being aggressive. He, on the other hand, did.
Were you home when Miss Valerio's dog was injured?
No.
You were? Step up. Tell me your name. Miss Rosen, you may sit down.
Noelle Cook.
I'll hear you.
Okay. I was at home, and I just heard the dogs fighting in the backyard, and I went to look over the fence, and I saw the dogs, his female and kind of his male. His male kept coming in and out of the fight. They had her dog pinned on the ground and basically tearing it apart.
And I have pictures, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
And also her vet bills and her medical records.
I'd like to see the pictures first.
If I may say, the vet did say that the only thing that saved my dog's life is the fact that she's 90 pounds. If she had been a smaller dog, the injuries would have killed her.
Mr. Gunderson, you understand, sir, that sometimes pit bulls have been known to be aggressive dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
How did you find out about the dog?
They lived actually across the street from a friend of mine. I've seen them before. Saw an ad in the paper. I called them, found out that it was the same people. So I've talked to them. I've seen the dog before, been around the dog before. It wasn't a big issue.
Did they have children?
They have one kid, yes.
And they felt that the dog was not appropriate to live with.
Well, they have 2 other dogs.
Look at me.
They have 2 other
They felt
dogs.
that the dog was not appropriate to live with them. Otherwise, what reason do you have to get rid of a dog?
Yeah, well,
If you have other dogs. It's not an allergy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Gunderson, pay careful attention. I'm very smart. This dog, you knew that the dog had had some problems. Is that right?
Right.
Who do you think is responsible, therefore, for a dog that has had certain problems in the past when the dog attacks again?
The owner of that dog.
That's you.
Mm-hmm.
You were aware of the dog's previous problems with the prior owner. Why you would choose to take a dog that had had problems, I don't know. And why you would choose to breed a dog that had prior problems, I for sure don't know. You have an answer to either of those questions?
I knew about the situation. I explained to Janice before I even got the dog.
I'm not talking about Janice. I'm asking you why you would choose to take a dog that had problems.
Because I had nowhere to go, so I took it.
And why, if it had nowhere else to go when you know the dog has certain character problems, why would you choose to breed a dog like that?
It's one fight. I didn't think it'd be a big deal, to be honest.
Well,
I've
now
been
you
around.
know better, right?
Yeah.
Good. Now I'll see the vet bills. That was easy.
Your Honor, each page is an individual invoice. The total actually came to what I wrote on the front. And she had to be kept in the hospital for 7 days.
Do you understand, sir? We all make certain choices when we get a pet. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to choose a pet that doesn't have violent propensities. You chose a pet that you knew had had problems enough so that a prior owner was looking to get rid of it. You took it. Not only did you take it, but you made a choice, because one of the reasons that you told me you chose to take this dog is because you wanted to breed it, to propagate whatever character flaws that this dog had. That is stupid. Very stupid. It's going to cost you $2,455.50. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was shown that I'm wrong in this, even though I had nothing to do with this.
When you choose to own a dog that has aggressive tendencies, or any animal for that matter, you're responsible for its actions.
When I came home from work, my neighbor's standing in my driveway with blood on her.
The defendant actually called me saying that his dogs were attacked.
My dog also got hurt.
She just finally healed. It's taken a month and a half.
Pit bulls have a bad name for themselves because of how their owners raise them.
I don't think the breed's bad. I think it depends on how they're raised, and if they're not socialized with other animals and people, it's gonna take its toll.
Butler James Newsom is suing his friend's ex-landlord, property owner Lai Chen, for maliciously allowing his dog to run away. Lai is countersuing, claiming James damaged her property and stole her gun.
Yeah, this is case number 331 on the calendar, the matter of Newsom versus Chan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Newsom, it is your claim that owing to the defendant's negligence, your dog ran away. I assume this is the dog. As a result of that, you found the dog in pound. You had vet bills, pound costs, etc. Ms. Chan says that you were a squatter on her property. You were not a tenant there, that the dog was left in her backyard. She opened the gate to leave. Your dog ran out. She had absolutely no obligation to go chasing after your dog. And in addition, she says that while you were a squatter there, you hit her house with your truck. You caused damage to her home. She wants you to pay for that. Ms. Newsom, do you own this house?
I own the house.
How many apartments do you have in the house?
3 houses over there, triplex.
3 houses?
Right, triplex.
And Mr. Newsom, he is not a tenant of yours, is
No,
that right?
not at all.
Is that
Not
right,
at all.
sir?
Yeah, I didn't live there.
Did you park your truck there at her house?
I visited my friend Mario on the weekends because I lived in L.A. at the time, and then I was working in Yorba Linda, so I stayed in Yorba Linda during the week, and I come in town on the weekends and stay with him on the weekends.
So you were staying there with your truck?
Yes, on weekends.
For how long?
I don't know, a month and a half or something. I forget now. He was until Mario moved out. I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention.
Well, let's try to pay attention
Yeah.
and get specific. What month did you start to come in to visit Mario?
It would have been November 2003 through December of 2003.
And when did your dog disappear?
I guess, from what I understand, it was 4 days before I came to pick him up, which would have been on the 15th of October, I guess. I realized he had disappeared on the 19th when I came to pick him up.
You said you stayed there from
didn't
November of
start
2003 till December of 2003.
That's right.
Your dog disappeared in October. That doesn't make sense.
That's right, because I wasn't staying there when my dog was being watched there. I went to Oregon to visit a friend and his mother who was dying. When I came back is when I, at that point, started staying there. And he was watching my dog for me while I was gone in Oregon.
How long did you leave your dog there?
I don't know, I think 10 days it was.
What's your name, Mario?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. Mr. Carmona, where was Mr. Newsom staying when he stayed in your house?
He would either stay upstairs, sleep on the floor upstairs, or because I had my aunt, my brother, and his girlfriend at the time, he didn't want to be a further inconvenience. So he said just lend him a couple blankets and he'd go ahead and just sleep in his bed of his truck for the night. I'd tell him to go upstairs and sleep in the...
And in what month did he come to stay with you?
But he didn't live, like you said, he would come over and visit on the weekends, but that started around November, about November.
All right. Now, when he left in October, he says he left his dog with you. Did he leave his dog with you?
Yes, he asked me if I could keep an eye on his dog while he went to go take care of some business that he had to take care of up in Oregon, I believe it was.
So, did you take care of his dog?
Yes, he left all the food that he needed. He left it upstairs with me.
How did the dog get away?
That is a good question. There was an incident where the dog was running around loose prior to Mr. Newsom leaving to Oregon. I had to call him because I couldn't put the dog back on his leash, on his runner.
Why not?
He wouldn't listen to me. I called Mr. Newsom. He had to drive back an hour. He put him back on the leash, and I informed everybody in my house, don't let him off the runner. He had plenty of rope, plenty of chains, so he could run around.
So you left him in the backyard?
He had a big backyard to run around.
You left him in the backyard?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he come into the house in the evening?
No.
So you left him in the backyard all the time?
Yes.
Was this backyard solely for you and the 2 other people on the lease, or was it for a lot of other people?
It was a shared backyard.
Well, what gives you the right to put the dog in the backyard?
None, but I did ask Ms. Chan that I was going to be keeping an eye on the dog. There was a doghouse in the back because there was already a dog
When
back
did
there.
you ask Miss Chan if you could
Before
keep the dog?
Mr. Newsom left for Oregon,
Did
I
he,
asked her.
Miss Chan?
No.
Of course not.
Yes, I did.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay.
Don't believe you, sir.
No.
If you had a dog that you couldn't control and there were other tenants using that backyard, it is unlikely that a landlord whose insurance is responsible would say, sure, keep a dog that's uncontrollable in the backyard so my other tenants are going to have trouble. Unlikely.
Ma'am.
All right. Do you know how the dog got away?
No, ma'am. All I know is when I left to work that morning, the dog was on the leash. When I came home, it wasn't on the leash. I spoke to Ms. Chan, asked what happened.
And what did she say?
She said she had opened up the gate to give both dogs because the other tenants that lived on the property had a pit bull that, if Ms. Chan may remember correctly, the first day that I went over there to look at the apartment
Just,
before I moved in,
just do me a favor. Just tell me what happened with your dog.
I asked what happened to the dog.
And she said?
She said that she let the dogs out to play and she opened up the gate so they could run around and they never came back.
What happened, Miss Chan?
No, because I went out. I parked in my car in the backyard. When I go out, I go to get my car and I gotta go. So I opened my gate, I went, and the dog went too. They both went together. One is female, one's male.
So they were not on a leash?
No.
They were not on
at
the
all.
lead?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
And you didn't go after them?
No.
Right. I wouldn't go after them.
It's not my dog. Why should I go after them?
Absolutely right. What else do you want to tell me?
I would like to tell you that Mrs. Chan was totally comfortable with my dog being there. And once I come back from Oregon and found my dog, took him to the vet, took care of all that, and I still continued to come on weekends and visit. She had no problem with me helping her property. Her property was in pretty bad state of...
what does that have to do with your dog?
It's got to do with the fact that she was comfortable with me being there when I was helping out on her property. She was, before her denying that my dog was allowed to be there, she had no problem with my dog being there.
Just a second. You're not following, sir. She has no duty to run after your dog.
But she has the duty, if she says it's okay for my dog to be in that yard, to allow it to be there while it's there.
Listen to me, sir. She has no duty to run after your dog.
You're right. Unless she let him off his leash.
She says she didn't.
Of course she did. She's not going to admit to it now that I've got a $500 bill in front of her. Yeah, I guess not. She was pretty sure I wasn't going to sue her either. But the problem we have here is...
Listen, Slick, take care of your own dogs. If you have to go to Oregon, take your dog with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Ex-landlord Lai Chen allowed his dog to run away. Lai says James is homeless and he was squatting on her property.
Listen to me. I want to know if when you were going into her house, you banged into her house.
I never went in
with your
her
truck.
house, and I did not hit her house.
Okay. When do you say he hit your house with his truck?
During the time he stayed in my backyard, and at night, because it's dark, he said he can't see it. He hit it, and the next morning I asked him to...
What date?
I don't have the date.
Well, why did you wait so long?
Because he's homeless.
Because
I don't know where he is.
No, it's because she countered her suit after she received mine. Of course.
Probably true.
I went over there the other day after I found out she was suing me and took pictures of the only place you could possibly hit her house. And the house doesn't show that, I mean, the house is just in bad shape altogether, but I don't know how you could say if I hit it or I didn't hit it. I mean, it's just in bad shape. Although I did re-roof one of her houses that I have another suit against her for because she refused to pay for that. And I have pictures of the fact that the house she lives in has got a roof blowing off, and a house next to it that's hers, I did the roof on, and I have not been paid for that.
What?
This is an estimate.
Madam, I can't tell what happened with this house. The house, it looks like it's in deplorable condition.
The whole property is.
That's why
But listen to me. I'm speaking. I don't need you to help me.
You're right.
The house is in deplorable condition. I can't tell what he hit and what he didn't. He just said he didn't hit your house. You're not responsible for his dog. He's not responsible for your house.
Oh, you know what?
Mario
Check
moved
this
out.
Yeah, it's
Mario
gone.
moved out.
Gone.
Good. Goodbye. Have a happy life.
And I knew you'd do that. That's all right, though. That's all right.
No excuse. Step out, please.
You're exactly what I thought you'd be. Come on, Hood. Let's go. That's why I should never come to this court. I knew she'd do that. All I know is he wasn't there when I came back from Oregon, and nobody told me nothing.
He lied in the court. He's been staying there for at least 4 or 5 months.
I came in, I asked Mario. He just pointed and said, go talk to Miss Chan. He didn't want to tell me a word.
I tell him, that's your responsibility. Don't put me on.
I went and talked to her. She goes, I don't know nothing. I know nothing.
I don't want to help nobody no more. Once enough. And they put me on the court? No.
And his girlfriend, Carmela Turchiarelli, for personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Good. Case number 248, Bolio versus Thompson's Turkey Valley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How old are you, Miss Bilio?
I'm 31.
You have 2 kids?
I have 3 children.
3. How old are they?
I have a 10-year-old daughter and 2 sons that are 4 and 5.
What kind of work do you do?
I stay at home with my children.
And how long have you been staying at home?
Since my first son was born.
So for 5 years?
Yep, my first son.
And what had you done before?
Housekeeping, and while I was pregnant with both my sons, I did do beet harvest.
There came a time, sometime, I think, was it last year, that you needed a place to stay.
Yes.
2021.
Yep.
Why?
September 29th of 2020, me and my boyfriend had broken up, so I had stayed in a shelter.
Is your boyfriend the father of either one of these children?
All my children have the same father. Me and him had broken up at the time, and I left from where we were staying at the time. Our living was West Fargo, to the YWCA right away, the homeless shelter. And I was there for like 6 months, and during that time I had met Carmela, and me and her became friends. And I had introduced her to my brother. And then I moved away for a little while in April, and I came back like the end of May.
Where did you move to?
I went to Texas.
What's in Texas?
A friend.
Where did you meet him?
Here in Fargo when I was 14 years old.
So what brought you to Texas?
That's where he was living, and he told me if I wanted to come live with him there, I could.
You didn't have a job in Texas?
He did.
You?
No, I did not.
And from when to when were you living in Texas?
I left April 15th, and I was there until like...
Of 2021?
Yeah. And then I moved back beginning of June, kind of. And then...
Beginning of June of the same year?
Yes.
So you stayed there for 3 months?
Yeah.
And you moved with your children?
Yep, all 3 of them.
Yep is not an answer.
Yes, all 3 of my children I moved.
Okay, so you took them out of school in April?
My daughter.
Took her out of school in April?
Yep, I did.
Yep is not an answer.
Yes. And we moved.
You took her out of school in April to go to Texas to live with a friend that lasted 2 months. The fact is you took your daughter out of school. I'm just trying to figure out who I'm dealing with.
Yes, because I had nowhere to live.
Well, there's a big place, but where do you live, in what state?
Minnesota.
In Minnesota?
Yeah.
Well, there's a big difference between school is still in session and June when it's over.
Yes, I know this.
Yeah, you know this. You're aware of this.
Yes.
Okay. I set this up because I really want to find out what I'm dealing with here. Now, I sort of know. In any event, you had no place to go. Your brother contacted you. You contacted him, and he invited you to come and live with him.
Yes, he did.
All right. That's what he did. You and your 3 children.
Nope. Just me and my 2 boys.
So you were going to live with your brother and his girlfriend with your 2 children?
Yes.
You got there when?
October.
Of 2021?
Yes.
Case is relatively simple. Case involves your claim that they have property that belongs to you. And they have a cross complaint that they probably would not have brought but for the fact that you're suing them. Because I think that they're just happy that you're gone. You moved in with them in October of 2021 and paid no regular rent.
The agreement between me and my brother was to buy food for the house and to give him money when I can.
Okay, now you weren't working. Now you weren't working, so how are you going to buy food for the house?
I was on assistance through Minnesota, so I got SNAP.
So you got food stamps?
Yes, and then I had child support. Well, I was on child support, but I wasn't getting the money. I didn't start getting money until February of 2022. And that's when I start giving him money every so often.
In October of 2021, you were not getting child support.
No.
You were getting food stamps, which you said you would share with your brother.
Yep.
Who lives, not yep is not an answer, who lives with his girlfriend, and how many children?
We have no children.
No children at all?
We have dogs.
That's fine. So you were sharing some of your food stamps with your brother and his girlfriend?
All of my food stamps went to the house.
Well, that's where you were living?
Yep. Yes, it was.
Yes, that's where you were living, with your 2 children?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm currently unemployed.
And what does your girlfriend do?
She works for a cleaning service.
Okay. Now, there came a time that you got a substantial amount of money from the government. What month and year was that?
Just this past April.
How much did you get from the government?
It was taxes.
Told me you hadn't worked in 5 years. I want to know what you got money from the federal government for. That's what your brother says. And I was curious, that's why I asked you the questions about working.
It is.
So don't make it up.
It slipped my mind.
What?
I'm sorry.
That doesn't slip your mind.
I did housekeeping, laundry in a hotel when I moved back from Texas with my mother.
Month? You worked from June 2021 until, we'll find out.
Until like mid-June because I did not have a babysitter for my children.
So you worked for a couple of weeks?
Yes.
How much money did you get from the federal government in April of 2022?
Like $11,000 from the government for child tax credit.
So you got $11,000, not from working, not that it slipped your mind, because 2 weeks may slip your mind because that's what you worked, if you worked at all. $11,000, you got child care credits. How much did you get for each of your 3 children?
I only filed for 2 of my children.
How much did you get for the 2 boys?
I believe $3,000 for each of them.
That's $6,000. Where's the other 5?
That came to me for the stimulus checks because I did not receive the last stimulus check. They said that my boys did not receive the refund that was coming to them for the stimulus too. So that was all.
So your boys got. Let me understand. Let me understand why this country is in such a fiscal morass today. So you got $3,000 for child care credit for each of your children, and the other $5,000 came because you went to an accounting firm, and they said, well, you should have gotten stimulus money for your boys.
Yes.
And you missed that, so we're going to put in for it. So they sent you another 5, or they sent you...
They sent it all together on one.
Okay. All together on one. So that you had plenty of time to go and take care of.
Yes.
Right.
Your judge actually have proof of how much she did get.
Now, when you got this $11,000, that $11,000 was supposed to help get you through COVID.
Yes.
Paying your bills, paying for rent, buying clothes for your children. So you got this money in April of 2022, 11th vacation.
April of 2022.
So the minute you got the money, according to you,
I start looking for a vehicle.
You bought a car?
I started looking for a vehicle.
So you started to look for a car. Now, you've been without a car for a while, but you started looking for a car.
Yep.
And also in April, you asked your friend, your brother's girlfriend, if she would watch your 2 children.
Me and her had a discussion before April.
You didn't go until after you got the money.
Yes.
You knew you were getting the money before April because you had gone to apply for it.
Yes.
Yes.
But when I got the thing where it said I was getting the money back, it didn't say that much.
$11,400. So you decided to go on vacation. Where did you go?
I went to Colorado.
Where in Colorado?
Up in the Denver area.
How did you get there?
I was with a friend and they drove.
Male or female friend?
Male.
So you went with a male friend to Colorado for how long?
I was there for a week.
What does this friend do for a living?
I'm not really sure.
You don't know whether this friend works or not?
I met him last year and I kept in contact with him throughout the whole year. And then we just got back in contact beginning of 2022.
And you don't know what he does for a living?
I'm not really sure what he was doing for work.
You have no right to give away any of her property, whether you think somebody deserves it more than she deserves it. That doesn't require an answer. I'm telling you what the rule is.
Alyssa Bolio claims her brother, Jordan Thompson, and his girlfriend, Carmela Turturelli, owe for the value of her personal belongings.
Okay, so you went away for a week, and according to what I read, you made arrangements with your friend, your brother's girlfriend, to take care of your 2 children, and you agreed to pay her $400 for the week.
Yes.
And then you went away for the week in April. Did you come back after a week?
Yes, I did.
On what date did you return?
The Saturday right before Easter.
Date?
April 19th, Your Honor.
And Carmela, I stayed at the house for a little while because my boys were not there.
What a little while?
I stayed at the house for maybe 2 hours and got all my stuff into the house, and my boys were not there. So I believe I went to my sister's house and to my mother's house, and I did not know where my boys were.
Just a second. If your two boys weren't in the house?
I had asked them where they were.
You asked them where you were and they told you it was a secret?
No, I asked them where my children were, and they said that they had went with their father.
So you knew where they were?
When I got home, I knew where they were. I didn't know that they had left previous to me arriving
Yeah,
home.
well, you got home from being away with a new friend in Denver, and you said, where are my boys? Duh, where are my boys? They're with their dad. So you went to your sister and mother's house, and then what happened?
And then the next morning, we left to the cities, and
The next morning?
On Easter Sunday.
On Easter Sunday, who's we?
Me and the friend.
What friend?
My friend that I went to Denver with.
So you went where?
Minneapolis.
How far a ride is that?
4-hour drive.
You intend to stay over there?
No. We were going to go visit some of his friends and then come back. But next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital. And I contacted my brother when I did.
You have the hospital records?
No, I do not. I contacted them.
You have, just a second, you have an admission record?
No.
Do you have a bill from them?
No, because I don't get billed.
Of course you get bills. When you leave the hospital, they say either you owe us this amount of money, that's what you get when you're discharged from the hospital. You may not be able to get hospital records, but it would certainly be interesting, madam, for me to know what. The next thing I knew after you were going with your friend to the cities to see some of his friends, you don't know anything until after you wake up in a hospital. Wouldn't
As
you be
soon as I
concerned?
woke up, I contacted my brother.
What date?
I'm not sure. I don't remember exact dates.
I mean, you have 3 children. What do you mean you don't know what date?
I don't know the exact dates, but I did contact him as soon as I was able to, because I did not have my own phone.
Don't you see how irresponsible this whole story is for a person who has 3 children?
Yes.
How totally irresponsible it is. And what is sad about it is you appear to be an intelligent person who just seems to go from one place to another based upon, well, I used to know him in Texas.
Her children, well, she's out running around doing whatever.
I didn't ask you anything. I can actually visualize the picture, and sadly, so can you. What date did she finally contact you after she disappeared again?
So after a Thursday after Easter Sunday.
Thursday after Easter Sunday, so that's the
21st of April is the Thursday after Easter this year.
It was actually Monday, the 25th.
We got records.
That's when I came home.
I don't care. I just want to know when you showed up again.
I contacted my brother, and I let him know what had happened. And then he was asking about our father, like I was supposed to go pick up our father.
I don't care. Let's get to the lawsuit. Now that I understand the characters that I'm dealing with, it is your claim that your brother and or his girlfriend took some of your property, didn't give you all your property that you should have had, because they finally said, we've had enough of you and your shenanigans. Goodbye.
I did not start leaving the house until that April. I was in the house the whole time with my boys. I've asked them maybe to watch them overnight a couple times, but that's it.
I don't care. They had enough of you. You didn't pay rent. They could say to you, goodbye. We tried to do our best. You took advantage of us. Goodbye. Now, that being said, you stayed with them for how many months and didn't pay them any rent, any utilities? How many months? You and your boys?
4.
4 months.
Because I started paying my brother in February.
Paying him what?
Money. I gave him money.
No, I don't want to know who gave him money. Rent. I know that at your age, maybe you think you're too young. Maybe you're too young. They either rent their house, they have a mortgage on their house, they have things that they have to pay.
We did not agree upon a set amount for every month. We did not agree
Well, don't you think you should agree on a certain amount every month? You just came into $11,000.
And it was actually way more than 4 months.
You just came into $11,000. You've been living off somebody else's largesse. You just came into $11,000 that I gave you, or they gave you, but you certainly didn't work for. So you say to at least the person who you're staying with, listen, I'm going to give you a couple of $100s a month just to cover my share of the expenses because you're 2 people watching the children.
Yes, I did.
$400?
Yes.
Okay. Did she pay you?
Yes.
She says in her complaint that you sold a computer of hers. She says you felt that she owed you more money because you actually watched the children for a longer period of time than the week that she paid you for when she doesn't remember where she was. Did you sell her computer?
I actually gave it away.
No, I don't believe that.
I did. And it's not
Well, why
her
would you give it
computer.
away? That's just spiteful.
Because it was family, and...
What do you mean it was family?
It was family.
I am not your family.
Chip, I don't want you to speak. You have no right to give her things
It
away.
wasn't hers, and I have proof right here.
Whose was it?
Who knows? I guess her friends.
That doesn't matter. It was in her possession.
It was in our possession,
It
actually.
was. She left it with us when she left.
Left it at the house.
No. That you may think is in your possession.
She asked me to sell it for her.
What?
She even asked me to sell it for her.
But it was not
Just
in
a
your possession.
second.
It was in my room.
Madam,
Yes.
if she asked you to sell it for her, then you don't give it away.
Well,
if she says, sell my computer for me, then you sell it. Then you don't say, I can't sell it, so I'm just going to give it away.
I gave it to one of the kids in the family that I thought could use it way more than her trying to use it to bail out her friend from jail.
That's not...
And she owed me a whole bunch more money.
Who died and left you boss?
Well, me in the house, because it was our house.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You met her in a shelter.
Yes.
How long have you lived in that house that you're currently living in?
August of 2018, to be exact.
Before that, the lease was in my name.
What part of I don't want to hear you? So you moved into his house?
Yes.
Right. So it's not your house.
Well.
It's his house. And since you're not his wife, you're his girlfriend for now, you have no right to sell or give away any of her property, whether you think somebody deserves it more than she deserves it. That doesn't require an answer. I'm telling you what the rule is.
Oh.
You wanted them to sell your TV,
yes,
jacket, and all of this is so that you can get him out of jail.
Yes.
Oh.
Carmela Turchiarelli of wrongfully selling her belongings. Jordan and Carmela claim Alyssa gave them permission to remove her property.
Now, you have no right to go into somebody else's bag. If they gave you instructions and you accepted those instructions, please sell my computer for me, which is what you just said. Isn't that what she just said?
It is what she just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sell my computer for me, and you decided not to sell it, but just to give it to somebody else in the family who could better benefit from it. You got to pay for the computer. Period.
She owed me money.
Period.
I have the evidence.
Just a second.
Okay.
Just a second. That's a different story. Carmela, let me tell you something, sir. You look like a very nice guy. You look like a very nice guy. I would unload her as fast as I could.
Oh.
I'm just telling you.
Wow.
I'm just telling you. Because first she says, I gave it away. Let's understand what she says. First she said, I gave it away. Then she said, she told me to sell it. Right?
Yes.
Then she said, I gave it to somebody who I thought could use it better than she was using it. Now, I'm going to ask you, Kevin, to go get the 2 pieces of paper that she wants me to review that she owed her money, and then I'm going to go back and explain to your lovely Carmela, listen to me, sir.
I'm listening.
Who I would think twice about. Well, I don't see anything about a computer here. I see that you wanted them to sell your TV,
yes,
jacket, and all of this is so that you can get him out of jail.
Yes.
Oh. I didn't see anything about the computer. I see the TV, I see a jacket.
Here, it's right here.
Just a second. It's not in the ones you gave me. But I'm glad you gave that to me because I have some indication that she did, in fact, ask you to start selling stuff because this is the same person that you went to the cities with.
Yes, and...
yes, when you forgot where you... Okay, found someone who wants that digital graphic computer. So can you put it in the living room or by my door? So you were going to sell your digital computer.
Yes.
Was it his computer?
It was, but he had given it to me.
So you wanted to sell it?
Yes.
And you say, I'm not giving it to you until you pay me what you owe me for child care, because you felt as if she should pay you more money because you watched the children longer than a week.
And there's a couple other reasons.
And whatever, and a pair of shoes. I don't care anything about that. You have a bill for the computer?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. No, I don't like this because the date was changed. The date the order was placed was to April 18th, 2022. So this is not a legitimate, it may be a legitimate price, but it says order placed on April 18th, 2022. You want to take a look at that? Because that's phony. Somebody changed that. No, somebody changed it.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
When did you get it?
I got it in April.
I don't believe this. Take a look. When did he go to jail?
The 25th
of
April.
What?
Of April.
And you left on vacation with him when?
A week before Easter, so I'm not really sure.
A week before Easter, Sarah. What's the date?
The week before Easter, the previous Sunday would be the 10th, April 10th.
April 10th. And you were away for a week?
Yes.
And then you don't remember where you were?
No, that was the second week.
That was the second week?
Yes. I was in Colorado for the full week, and I came back the day before Easter, and then I left on Easter Day, and then
And when did you get this computer? You see, that's what I'm asking you. When could you possibly have gotten this computer if the bill...
This is dated the 18th.
Of April.
Which I believe they said was the day she came back.
When could you have possibly gotten it from him?
I ordered it for him. I paid for it, and then he gave it to me.
Listen, I suggest you both get your acts together. You get nothing from your brother. Just consider yourself very, very lucky that he took care of you and that he let you come into a job. Find a way of making a living. Figure it out. Because you made 3 children, they have a right to a certain amount of stability.
And they all are stable.
That's not stability.
That is
Get
stability.
it together. Oh, well, sometimes you can't get through to people. They're that kind of thick. And that's why we are where we are in this country. Do you understand?
Yes,
Think twice. I know you tried to be a good brother.
Yep.
Think twice about doing it again. By the way, does your mother work?
Yes.
And it mentioned something about a father. What kind of work did your father do?
I don't really remember.
He was a logger.
Both your parents work.
Yep.
Good. Evidently, it didn't rub off. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim.
This court is adjourned.
I'm okay with it.
She was a friend, and I love her children. And really, it wasn't about her. It was about them kids.
He won't talk to me because of her.
You need a job. You need to
Change.
Something needs to change with her.
I don't really care.
Hopefully she does figure it out. The kids deserve it. He deserves it. He's a good brother.
You know, that case takes me back to my family court days. And I only have one observation other than the fact that I'm what should be society's frustration with this, which is once you have children, you have the responsibility, your sole responsibility is to make sure that your children are taken care of. You have to say, listen, my social life takes a back seat. Everything else takes a back seat. But I have 3 little kids, and they are my priority. So I have to do whatever I can to put my life in order. And she clearly has her priorities all messed up.
I agree. I think I can understand and empathize with those women who are parents who can't provide a stable environment for their children and temporarily leave them with a mother, a father, a family member, while they can provide for a stable environment, go get a job, go try and find constant housing. But it blows my mind. I can't empathize with leaving your children with family to take care of and then not doing anything to put yourself in a position to care for them.
In a better place. Yeah. You're right. I don't have to worry.
Moon for vet bills from a dog attack.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2034, Smallwood versus Moon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Smallwood, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes,
you probably share a common area either in the front or the back. You have small dogs. I think you have a large dog or 2.
And 2 of them, yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am, 2 of them.
And it is your claim that one of his dogs attacked your dog on your property. The dog was injured. You want the defendant to be responsible for the vet bills that you had for your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been neighbors?
I've been living in the neighborhoods for 23 years.
And what about you, sir?
2.
Do you own your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
And you?
I rent it.
Are you familiar with Mr. Moon's dogs?
Not at all, sir.
Have you ever seen them before?
No, ma'am.
You mean in the 2 years that he's been there, prior to this incident, you've never seen his dogs?
They live in a back cul-de-sac from where I am.
Do you have adjacent property?
No, ma'am. He lives maybe about, I want to say almost a mile.
Have adjacent property.
We just live in the same neighborhood.
How did your dog get out? Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am. So the one.
Try to speak up.
I guess it jumped over the fence.
What kind of a dog is it?
A pit mix.
On what day did it jump over the fence?
About 2 months ago from today.
Has it ever jumped over the fence before?
It has.
Then you don't have a big enough fence.
Well, she climbs the fence. It's not that she just hops over it. She actually literally climbs it.
Then you keep her inside. Then you keep her outside if she wants to be outside, and you keep her on a chain.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if you were aware of the fact that your dog can get out from over the fence, then the dog is not in your control.
Correct.
On what date was your dog?
The dog's out to use the bathroom, went back in the house, put some clothes on, heard a commotion, went back outside, and that's when I seen the first attack. And I yelled at the dogs, and they took off running down the street.
How many were there?
2.
Were they pit bulls?
Yes, ma'am. It's to my knowledge.
What color were they?
White.
Is that the color of your dogs?
Yes, ma'am.
And they were together? The 2 of them were together?
Yes, ma'am.
You say that was the first attack.
Right.
So your dog was okay?
Well, he was laying in the ground, and I ran and put clothes on. I yelled at him. The dogs took off running. I come back out to get him, but he's on the other side of the yard. I have a half acre, so he's literally on the other side of the yard.
Your dog or his dog?
My dog, after I seen the video. I wasn't sure how he got there, but the animal control say I don't have a case unless I have video. And I looked at the video.
Where did you have a camera? In your backyard?
In my front yard. It's in
You
the
have
front.
that, and that's your dog, sir?
That's my little one, the black and white.
The little one is your dog, but the big one is his?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see there.
You understand what the problem is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So why don't you, Mr. Moon, tell me what the problem is?
So I think she was there to prevent it, for one. So there's other videos too, but she came out, she shushed my dogs away, they ran off, and then she went back inside and left her dogs outside with no leash or fenced in.
That's in her property.
I went back.
How do I know what?
That's her property.
How do I know that's her? There's no property lines or nothing?
No, that's her property.
Okay, well, you know, I mean, her dog came out barking at my dogs. And if he really would have wanted to hurt the dog, then he could have killed the dog if he wanted to. I feel like he was more
Just a second,
more playing.
Just a second, that's an interesting statement. He could have killed her dog if he wanted to.
Right.
That's an interesting statement. Did you see her dog? You know what kind of dog hers is?
No, I mean, it's a
Little Schnurdicker.
Right.
Right? Little one, maybe 5 pounds, maybe 6.
3. 3 pounds.
Okay. You think that if her dog, and then you've got a little Pekingese?
That's Pomeranian.
Pomeranian.
Yeah.
She's got a little Pomeranian. Do you think that if those dogs got out from their fenced yard, like your dog, do you think if they came across your dogs, they could kill it? Or both of them? You think they could?
No.
Okay. Let's take it a step further, Mr. Moon, because you're not giving me the answers that I want to hear. So let's take it a step further. Do you think that if Miss Smallwood's 2 little dogs got out like your dogs got out and they killed?
Probably so.
Probably so. So do you think that you have a greater or a lesser responsibility as the owner of dogs that are capable of killing a human being? You think that you owe a lesser or a greater responsibility to society as a whole to make sure that those dogs are within your control all the time? You want to be a fool and own dogs that are capable of killing, you have to be responsible. Just as if you had a wild tiger, you wouldn't leave it out in the backyard in a fence that it could climb.
And later today.
Is that what they call it, installation?
Yes, ma'am.
Usually refer to furniture as an installation. I never knew that they referred to a wig as installation.
Catherine Smallwood claims her neighbor, Nathan Moon, owes for vet bills from a dog attack.
So you think that you owe a lesser or a greater responsibility to society as a whole to make sure that those dogs are within your control all the time?
Correct. Well, since then,
And what you told me, I'm still venting, because for those people in the world that decide that dangerous dog breeds, those dog breeds that have been deemed dangerous in every state in the United States, and insurance companies won't insure you if you have certain breeds of dogs, and yours are within that little group of dogs. Most insurance companies, unless you pay a very high premium, exclude injury from those dogs. So you understand that you have animals that are deemed dangerous, and you told me 5 minutes ago that your dogs are able to climb. I have my reporter here who can read it back. Isn't that what you told me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you agree with me that your dogs are capable of causing death to a human being, and that your dogs have been able to get out from the enclosure that you prepared for them, then there is no question that you are responsible for any damage that your dogs do to another dog, to a child, to an adult. You want to be a fool and own dogs that are capable of killing, you have to be responsible. Just as if you had a wild tiger, you wouldn't leave it out in the backyard in a fence that it could climb, because if you did, you would be responsible. York, a woman ate her. So you want to be a fool and have a dog like that, you're responsible for any injury it causes.
I also have pictures of the injury.
I'd like to see them. How much were your vet bills, Miss Smallwood?
The vet bill was $1,421.
And I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Moon. So there's no question you're responsible for her vet bills. No question. But because you told me that your dogs had gotten out before and you didn't remedy that situation, I'm tacking on another $1,000, which is what she's requesting. And while it's not for pain and suffering of the dog, because I'm precluded from giving you that kind of an award, it's a deterrence for people who have dogs that can kill, to keep those dogs under their control all the time. And if you don't want to do that, get a Pomeranian. We're done. $2,400. Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
The dangers of pit bulls.
She was just requesting the vet bills.
Glad she seen the case going my way.
I mean, she just wanted the money and said that her dog was injured.
Just hurts my heart still.
I wish I could have had more control over my dogs.
To see him, slung around like a rag.
And sorry.
Contain your animals.
Yeah, one thing you picked up on but didn't quite name it was that when he knew his dog was capable of climbing over his own fence that he had enclosed the dogs in, he was on notice from that point forward that his dogs were capable of getting out of the yard. He knew that they had potential to be dangerous dogs, and he chose not to do anything about it. And you can't claim anything was an accident after the point where you were put on notice. So I agree.